This new moon in Pisces offers us creative inspiration, hope, and support for leaning into the darkness, the discomfort, and the unknown. Major intuitive and psychic downloads are on their way. But this requires trusting in self and the divine. Hey everyone, it's Christine and welcome back to my channel and to this video on the new moon in Pisces happening on March 10th at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or New York City time for reference at 20 degrees and 16 minutes of Pisces. We are connecting to the unseen, and this is the headliner I wanted to use for this video because it encompasses so much, and it's about leaning into a lot of discomfort around practical, tangible, earthly elements in our lives, and also those that are more occult, spiritual, unseen, unknown, and things that we may have fears about, because wherever there is quote-unquote darkness or things we don't know or see or we can't discern, it brings up fears, it brings up insecurities and anxieties, because we want to know, we want the light to be shown, and we want that illumination to bring forth the answers that we seek guidance and clarity on. So before we dive in, just a few housekeeping details. I am streamlining the lunation videos to try and do my best to make them more compact, more focused, and simply trying new things out. Many of you already know that have been with me on this journey. I'm going through a period of just many different things, many different changes. So I'm trying some things out. I'd love your feedback. I want to make sure that I'm not being redundant or repeating myself. So many of the energetic alignments and astrological transits that support this lunation are discussed in detail in the weekly energy forecast. So I will link that up here if you'd like more around the surrounding transits to give you a better idea, on the other energies that are supporting this. And within the lunation videos, I wanted to hone in on maybe one or a few transits that capture my eye, that are interesting, and that speak to the overall theme around this. As always, timestamps are provided below in the description box, as well as the link to this lunation. We are going to get started. If you see me looking down, it's because I have the chart here. I haven't figured out how to put the chart in the YouTube video, where it's embedded and you can see me talking, and that's a work in progress. If any of you know, drop it. Drop it down below. I'm doing it, so I appreciate your patience. So let's tap into the overall energetic theme. And I wanted to offer more guidance here too on this lunation in terms of themes and not just going rotely or mechanically through the transits. This is the last lunation before we head into eclipse season on March 25th and April 8th, respectively, where we will have the lunar and solar eclipse, one in Libra, or I should say the first one in Libra, and then the solar eclipse in Aries. So for me, this feels almost, I wouldn't say the calm before the waters, because it freaks people out. There's a lot of fear around eclipses and things to come, and because they represent a lot of harbingers of change within and also outside of us. But this lunation in Pisces, this new moon, is offering us the chance, I feel, to connect deeper or recreate or reimagine what our spiritual connection looks like to the divine, to the occult, to the unseen. Because a lot of where we place our security, especially emotional, and our stability, especially when it concerns finances, is in the material world. And the thing is, as we've seen, especially with Uranus and Taurus, who plays a key role, a leading role in this new moon in Pisces, is that there have been massive fluctuations, a lot of changes in whether it's economic markets, the price of goods and services, gasoline, petrol, other things that we tend to consume on a daily basis, but also the institutions that we're a part of, the people, a lot of things that are just moving around. And so this lunation brings up huge themes around, you guessed it, Piscean themes, because this is it's not a bottle, but a double-bodied or mutable water sign. So we're able to see with this lunation extremes, not just within ourselves, but I feel also too in the realities that we're living in, concerning issues around control, surrendering, letting go, acceptance, release, endings, purification, spirituality, and rest. And I want to get a little bit more into them And this is something new that I'm doing with this lunation to offer more practical guidance and some themes that are coming up. Remember, it's not just about physical rest, but also emotional, mental, and spiritual rest, because this is very much connected to the psychic and intuitive nudges, messages, and downloads that are coming to you, especially if you do not have a practice in place. Because we are about to start and enter the new astrological new year with Aries and with the equinoxes, spring and fall, wherever you are in the world, we are wrapping up a cycle here. This is one cycle in the zodiacal wheel, I should add, where we are ending things, we're letting things go, and this is collectively. Because obviously, if you have just celebrated your birthday, happy birthday, Pisces, this is a new start for you. So a lot of this is embedded, it's very layered. So we are upgrading and heading up into a new emotional consciousness or frequency in our soul journey. So this represents a purification, if you will, because we're transcending something greater. I feel a tear coming, even though there's no reason for me to have tears, it just formed, which is interesting because water and purification and releasing is a huge element with this lunation. Like I've mentioned before, and throughout several videos preceding this, there are a shit ton of psychic and intuitive downloads coming. If you do not have a spiritual practice in place, if you're someone that tends to maybe experience more stress than usual, you have noise around you, not just noise from audio equipment, but it's chaotic, and you're not able to simply relax and receive, this may be a time where you start thinking about, what does this practice look like? And I preface this because of the amount of messages we're going to be receiving. It's important that you connect to a practice, to something. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be something that's meaningful to you, whether it's prayer, meditation, sitting quietly in the park or on your couch, petting your animal, but connecting to yourself and to something bigger, whatever that means to you. It could be divine, God. You get my point. But the point here is to be able to reach a state of almost clearing away. It doesn't have to be 100%, but a point where you can simply just breathe and relax just for a moment. It doesn't have to be continuous either. We are going to be getting, and many folks have already been receiving messages, puzzle pieces that are in complete whole messages and also partial pieces. So you may not understand completely what is coming to you, how to decipher it, what it means, and that's not really the point of this lunation, because with the new moon, there's a period of darkness, and preceding that and leading up to this new moon, that's been the focus. We've been maneuvering and meandering through a lot of perhaps discomfort, whether it's emotional terrain in particular, things coming up to be released, fears, insecurities, doubts. Where am I going? Where am I heading? What's happening to me? What's going on? For good reason, because some of these answers won't come to you until after the fact. And a lot of times there's a point of tension here where we're like, well, I have to know the answers before I make a decision. And a lot of times it's the opposite, it's the reverse. Lean into the faith, lean into hope, lean into your practice, and things are going to work out. And this is an area, and this lunation really brings up the theme of loss of control or not controlling things. A second element here, or I should say the first, is surrendering hope and faith, which I've touched on. I don't want to belabor this, but we're leaning into a lot of feminine energy here, which is very receptive, receiving, and very intuitive. Hence the nature of how we receive our messages. It's usually not when we're stressed out or angry or shouting. Generally, we'll know it because it's subtle. We feel it in our bodies. You just know. And so for any of you that are in the season of things just moving, challenges, hardships, whatever is going on, and you may be in a point where you're trying to control things or forcing things, this is a point where you will do your best to back off, because the energy surrounding this lunation, this season, Pisces season in general, and the themes and significations associated with Pisces are really not about forcing anything. It's about flowing, hence the mutable or double-bodied nature of this sign. There are a lot of things we don't see with the dark aspects of Pisces, and as we head more towards the light symbolically, but also literally, we will start seeing and receiving the messages we need to. Again, I mentioned this, apart from any insecurities, doubts, fears, you may also be sensing or experiencing paranoia, suspicion, you could say dark feelings, because we may not be understanding 100% one area of our life or something or an event that's going on, whether it's a relationship, a particular point of clarity you're seeking. There's something here that you may remain in the dark about. Second, this lunation brings up themes around spirituality and the unseen. So this is, again, I mentioned this already, a great time to reinitiate, reestablish, reinvigorate your spiritual practice. Ask yourself, where am I in this season of my life? How much time do I have to devote? A lot of folks do not talk about the practicalities of this. And that's why I noticed just from working with clients that people are not able to sustain their own spiritual practices. And hence it goes hand in hand with your own psychic and intuitive developments. And it's important to really think about where you are in your life. Do you have a lot of time? Do you want to devote a lot of time? Do you want something more practical and easy? Do you just want to pursue meditation, or do you want to participate in lunar cycles? Like, all of this requires, and if you're interested, I'm happy to do a video. It's en route. There's so many. But this lunation is asking us, we are being called to tap into things we don't understand, things we don't always see, things we may not always be aware of. So there's a lot of darkness, a lot of occult things at this moment, and the spiritual realm, a lot of mystery there too, because we don't always understand why things happen the way they do, good, bad, whatever it is. And a lot of times it will take maybe a certain amount of time for us to understand that bigger meaning of why things happen in the way that they did. We don't always see the linkages, you know, like gears. If you look at a gear in a science table, for example, you could see how it's connected because you see the whole thing. Imagine our life like that. You're just seeing one glimpse and you don't understand the greater spiritual architecture of why things are happening. So I keep mentioning this because it's important. And as we continue to ascend, for those of you on a spiritual journey, it's even more important to connect to your own divine channel. Think of it as an umbilical cord that you have with the divine, or simply turning on the channel. Everyone has their own channel with the divine. Something too, there has been a major theme coming up around emotional intimacy, vulnerability, feelings, and this lunation is asking us to foster something deeper with meaning to the divine, to the universe, to God, to ourselves. Because it can be lost in the midst of living our human lives, in the midst of so many things, the responsibilities and identities that we carry in this life, meaning that we are also committed to seeing them through, seeing our goals, ambitions, and whatever else that we have on our plate. We're seeing them, we want to see them come to fruition or follow through on them. But this also means we are connecting in new ways that we haven't before. That's why I asked a lot of questions about establishing your practice. Because the way other people do them, the way they look, because I think people romanticize them, and there's no, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'd say when you're first starting out, it's really important just to be practical about it and then start adding on little by little and make it consistent for yourself. So if any of you are going through any challenges right now, any hardships, these have been major themes, not just in my own life, but with so many folks I've been connecting to, or anything that seems wonky or weird and you're like, wait, I'm not making progress in the way that I want, or things keep going, you know, one step forward, one step back, what's going on? A lot of this, there's an underlying component that's highlighting something bigger and more spiritual here that transcends us. And I feel like even now we just know the tip of the iceberg. I feel like that around many aspects of spirituality, psychic development, divination. We just know the tip of the iceberg, and we won't know fully any of this until we cross over. And so this is also asking us too about releasing control over a lot of these things. It doesn't mean that we welcome them or we love these things to happen to us, but there's an element of acceptance that's happening here, and that this Piscean energy is asking us to become more familiar with, to contend with, to sit with, especially if it's something new. And when many things are happening that you can't personally control or dictate, it leaves you feeling vulnerable. It leaves you feeling open, almost like you are a hyena in the Serengeti and there's a lion right in front of you, it leaves you feeling very perhaps insecure in a way. And so a lot of this is really ushering us towards, well, you can connect to something like your ancestors, your spiritual team, and they're part of it, but I say that specifically, passed on loved ones, galactic family members, something outside of you, faith or hope that gives you purpose. And this is akin to logotherapy. And this has been something so prominent with me with Viktor Frankl about looking and transcending to, beyond the material world, and something that you may not always be able to discern or see, right? Excuse me, with what's in front of you, but that you believe in your heart. And this connects to a spiritual message, or a message, I should say, a channel for this. So always remember that your spiritual connection to the divine and to your practices can never be taken away. Only the things in the material world. That's why it's essential. And this lunation is really asking us, because there's a lot of changes coming, especially with Uranus involved here. Right now, like I've mentioned, we're at a stage in human development where safety doesn't always reside in the material things, money or possession. They can be taken away at any time. Natural disasters can come, market fluctuations, job insecurities, etc. I won't even go further because my intention is not to provoke fear, but simply to say, this is a time to really ask yourself, where have I been receiving or connecting to or getting this type of security from? And how can I nurture that with something that can offer faith, hope, comfort in a different way? Because we're being asked to reside in security and safety in a different way, especially with with Uranus in Taurus. Another element or theme that this lunation is bringing up is psychic and intuitive development. You're going to be receiving a shit ton of messages. I already said that. Think of them like computer downloads. For those of you that may not be more in tune or haven't developed that connection well, think of it like when you download files from a computer. When you open or find that file, because sometimes it's in the most obscure places on the computer, you will see a bunch of files and you're like, shit, I forgot about them. But when you do have that channel that's open and fluid, in other words, you are open to receiving, you will more than likely get them. And sometimes your guides will continue sending you pings, in other words, downloads in different ways if you haven't received or understood it the first time. So this is something this lunation is also bringing up, because the most basic underlying premise surrounding any form of psychic and intuitive development is trusting yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, how the hell are you going to trust what you're receiving? Especially if it's something that you may deem completely crazy, extraordinary, or unbelievable. I won't even touch on anything else because I've already repeated this, but trusting before receiving is going to be the last theme that this lunation is bringing up. So know that a lot of the things you don't see, that's cooking, that's baking, that's permeating behind the scenes, think about in a hidden, mysterious spiritual closet. We don't understand or see that, but a lot of things are shaking and moving beyond. And one of the elements here is trusting. Trusting things are going to work out in the best way possible and in the best way for our soul journeys. Sometimes we don't understand what best means for us until time, like I've already said. So this is a big one, and this requires practice, because when we are able to relegate our fears, our worries, anything that comes up that's heavy on our hearts to something higher, or even in connection to whoever you connect with in terms of your spiritual team, have you ever noticed that you feel a lightness in your heart, a lightness in your soul, in your spirit in general, in the environment? Because now you're putting your faith into something else, and you will always get answers. That's also another opportunity for you to release that energy, because when you hold on to something, you are essentially burdening yourself with it, and that's not the case. A few suggestions I have here. Do what makes you feel really good and relaxed, no matter how small or your time commitment. And I mean like really fucking relax, because when you are in that state, that's when you receive. You're not controlling. Imagine some people don't like baths, but if you do, you're just floating. You know that feeling where you just float? That's what I'm talking about. So connect to something you love. Maybe it's playing with your kids or animals, playing on the playground by yourself. just say a caveat, be careful, because if you're an adult going into a playground with kids, you may get weird looks. But that's a beautiful way to engage with that inner child energy and relax and just be in that state. Do something creative, whether it's a hobby you enjoy doing, reading, painting, cooking, artwork, listening to music, composing music, playing music, watching clouds, dancing, video games. The main point here is to allow yourself to relax during this lunation. I would say leading up to it and about a week after or so, just to be open. It's like essentially opening up a channel of receptivity. Let's dive into the transits. Again, I'll link the weekly energy forecast for the week of March 4th through the 10th, which is this week in which this lunation is a part of, so you can get a better idea of the other transits involved. But I really wanted to dive into some particular ones because this lunation, it's happening where there's a Pisces stellium in wholesome houses, I should say, with Saturn at 11 degrees, the moon and sun at 20 degrees each, Neptune at 27 degrees, and Aries will just have ingressed, Mercury will just have ingressed into Aries at obviously 0 degrees. I have Aries ingressing into Aries. The first transit is Mars in Aquarius squaring Uranus and Taurus. And this is going to impact you in many different ways. So I want to caveat this. It's really important to look at your own natal charts, the impacts that these transits make on your own natal charts, because sometimes what these represent, and especially collectively, since I can't read everyone's charts individually, it may sound all doom, horrible, and it's really not. It depends on how this is configured in your own natal chart. So really take these collective energies as just general guidelines. There's some type of rupture or breakthrough happening. So there's a dual nature here. Mars is separating from Uranus at about 19 degrees and 20 degrees. On March 9th, a day before this lunation at 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York City time for reference, Mars was just a minute short, but at the same degree of perfecting with Uranus. So this is creating an almost, I call it an almost perfection, but it's considered a partile aspect if you want to be accurate. So earlier in the week, we've seen this alignment where Mars moving closer and closer to Uranus, and it's intensifying, and it will peak in intensification on March 9th, and we'll be slowly separating until the next week, around the 15th of March or so. So think about what you've been feeling earlier this week. I've been communing and tapping in with my dad, who's also very highly sensitive to energies, and we both were talking about it, like feeling electrical shocks, feeling buzzed. He was having digestive issues. So you may be experiencing feeling highly buzzed or turned on, feeling currents or electricity, feeling like there's some buzzing in the atmosphere, feeling more emotions coming up, especially impulsive emotions. You could also be feeling just something is coming, whether it's ominous or something positive, but you're not completely entirely sure of what that is. So what does this mean? Mars signifies ruptures, breakthroughs, breakdowns too, in a different way than Uranus. Division, conflict, endings, violence, aggression, courage, action, passionate energy. Uranus signifies unpredictability, breakthroughs, as well as breakdowns in different ways too. Impulsiveness, revolution, rebellion, spontaneity. I almost like to attribute spontaneous combustion, just the term, not the particular meaning as you define it in a more paranormal sense. So this alignment can bring, again, there's a dual nature here, can bring accidents here, especially with people, technology, vehicles. If you work with anything sharp, if you're in the medical field, cooking, baking, just think anything sharp, any type of tool, because Mars does rule over blood as well, and anything sharp. There could be accidents, increased injuries, impulsiveness, reacting without thinking, temper tantrums, and just increased volatility around or within relationships as well. On the other side of this duality, you could use and harness this energy too when you're aware of it, and also depending too, like I mentioned earlier, on how it is configured in your natal chart, you could use that energy to get a lot done. get a shit ton done. With Mars, in a different way too. Something you may receive like a creative inspiration, a creative download, or some type of breakthrough with yourself and say, wow, I can do this in a different way, or I can connect to people in a different way, excuse me. And with Uranus and Taurus, this could also speak to receiving support, receiving guidance from others. It could also be engaging with new resources, new people. And when I say resources, it covers the whole gamut, like books, podcasts, education, workshops, that type of thing. And something too that came up here was sacrifice and martyrdom, which is something Mars is associated with. So something here, especially if you do have any hard aspects natally, but also generally, because this is a Mars square Uranus alignment, if you have anything of a hard aspect, an opposition, a square, it's important to note that there may be a feeling of giving up something in order to progress or get what it is you want, or vice versa. And I channeled these two words, which was interesting for me, and I'll get to that message shortly. But at the same time, if you do have any more harmonious aspects, like a sextile or a trine, you may receive this differently, as I mentioned, with the dual interpretations. So really important just to be aware of that. It's important for any lunation that sometimes the collective readings that you're hearing from anyone may not play out in that way for you. Overall, I feel like there's an opportunity here, regardless of how it goes for you, for an increased level of awareness, knowing what you know now, which is why so many folks like myself, we do this. Because it's not about preempting this or skipping lessons or not learning things, but asking yourself, okay, well, some possibilities around these themes could pop up in my life. What can I do differently? Because these are ways that you can learn and essentially grow, because that's what we're here to do. The second transit, Moon and the Sun, both sextiling Uranus. So we have Moon and Sun in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. So again, we're changing something for the better in our lives, and we're feeling inspired to do things differently, whether it's from a breakthrough or a breakdown, because there's some type of shift. And when we start anything new, there could be something that ends naturally, or a transition point. I also feel like many folks are going to get sudden psychic epiphanies, just a knowing. Again, knowings, you'll know it. You could feel it, you could sense it, you'll see it, you'll hear it, and however you receive those messages. There's also a desire for freedom from the mundane, from the routine, from what we've always done. So you may feel a need to connect to, nurture yourself in new ways with different people, different environments. The same with the Sun sextiling Uranus. There's a greater need to express ourselves in new, vibrant ways. So pay attention to those psychic downloads. This is a big theme this week, is everyone is going to get different downloads, because obviously we are all on our own unique individual paths. So you are going to get glimpses of, ooh, this sounds like a good way to change things up. The final transit I wanted to get into is Saturn sextiling Jupiter. We have Saturn in Pisces as well, and Jupiter in Taurus. This is about being the leader in your own life, especially concerning the spiritual realm. And it's really interesting here because Jupiter has reception in Pisces, because it rules over Pisces, so it feels right at home. And so this is connected to the area of your natal chart, or the area of your life where you are going to receive messages about predominantly. So take a look at where you have Pisces, what house Pisces is in your natal chart, and the same thing with Taurus. That's where Jupiter's at. There's a lot about receiving these messages again, because it's happening in different stages, and then integrating them and bringing them down to earth, literally. Because the Piscean energies are all about receiving creative, inspirational, it could be romantic messages. And I say romantic not just in love ways, but also in ways that tap into your heart, into the divine, and things that are coming down as downloads for you that you would want to birth in this reality, as well as general intuitive, psychic, and other spiritual messages. It's another thing to receive a message and then not do anything about it. But here with this alignment, Saturn is asking you, okay, we are in Pisces. I'm not feeling very comfortable here, but okay, whatever. Let's take whatever messages we're getting and let's ground this into reality. Let's take responsibility and commit to something and create some type of growth, because the sextile to Jupiter could allow for amazing expansion and growth to occur in this area of your life, especially in Taurus. And everyone is going to have it in different charts, but excuse me, in different houses in their charts. But you could see growth in such a beautiful, positive ways, meaning you can meet new people, people that are going to help you in this area of life. Resources are coming in. That could include, again, like I mentioned, educational resources, knowledge, wisdom, money, finances, things of that nature. There's also stability and support and comfort that's being reworked by this alignment that's going to allow you to feel better in general. You're going to connect with it in a new way. So follow that creative spark, those psychic downloads that are coming. Once you receive them and gain better understanding, make a plan, get organized, because that's Saturn asking you, okay, let's inject some commitment and discipline here, and let's follow through with accountability and create some steps that you can make this or several of these creative sparks or downloads more tangible in your life. It's about bringing them into reality. Other themes too include those around higher education, anything about learning, education, workshops, courses, traveling through the earthly senses, especially through books, through nature. It could be hands-on too, where you're actually using, kinesthetic learning, and exploring any creative themes that call to you, which is going to be vast, especially Venusian, Jupiterian related. Comment down below, let me know how you all like that. I felt like this offered a little bit more of not just a twist, but creatively I felt called to translate some of these transits in more practical ways and just focusing on some of the more interesting ones. Let's get into the Sabian symbol. This is happening at Pisces at 21 degrees, and we got a little white lamb, a child, and a Chinese servant. I'm like, wow, what a title. So remember, for any of you that are not familiar, Sabian symbols are essentially short snippets or stories that are relating to every degree in the 360-degree zodiacal wheel. So they give you a little bit more about the energies about these degrees. So at 21 degrees of Pisces, I will read to you what it says. This shows being able to provide care, safety, and comfort to those who need it. The child has a servant. He is well looked after. He also has a little white lamb, an animal companion, one he can be with, hug, and enjoy. In our early years, it was the sense of touch that was initially satisfied. If you felt cradled and comfortable, you could grow knowing that all was safe and well. You could find yourself in a place of privilege, cradled from those things that could hurt or challenge you. Have someone to look after you. Conversely, you could be the one who's always there for others, supporting and loving them regardless of who they are or where they're from. Other themes include being protected by higher, more aware energies, privileges of money and social status, helpers, servants, care, being watched over and watching over others' children, social incompatibility, snobbery, not having to grow up, not taking responsibility, acting the brat, racial prejudice, the school of hard knocks. So the takeaway here is you are going to find security and also new forms of stability in many different ways that are and rely, or I should say lie outside of the material realm here, especially things that cannot be taken away from you, that cannot be completely ripped apart from you. And again, theme around your spiritual practices, your beliefs, and your connection to your spiritual guides and team. So these are the main, I would say, topics and themes coming forth with this lunation. There's something about transcending the material realm to find something, or to find purpose in something higher and something bigger than what we've known, because oftentimes when so many things are changing around us, and they can be good changes, but nonetheless, they can be very overwhelming. When things shift, we feel it as humans in our nervous system. And that's when things can go into overdrive, right? And we want to relax our nervous systems, especially our parasympathetic nervous system, and be able to act from a place of calm, of inner peace, and not from one of anxiety or anything that's happening in a quick way. Let's get into the channeled messages, you all. Message number 1, sit with emotions to let go. This is a lunation that will offer us an amazing time, opportunity to practice letting go of control. I already mentioned all the themes. I won't go into them, but this is really about sitting with what is coming up for you, the emotions, the feelings, the discomfort, anything that's fearful as well, because what's in the dark, what's hidden, can present a lot of fears to people because you can't see it, you don't understand it, you don't know what's there. This is about not doing anything about it, not a damn thing. You just sit with it. So if all of a sudden you're feeling a fear around something, granted, please use your discernment and intuition. If it's a physical fear, like you're scared for your safety, please do everything you can. I always have to make these disclaimers because it's not common sense to everyone. And I'm not saying this from a place of judgment, but I'm saying if you're, in your home, safe, and something comes up where all of a sudden you're just angry or you feel afraid, a lot of people like to bypass that. And this message was clearly saying, do not, just sit with it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to psychoanalyze it. You don't have to troubleshoot. You don't have to do anything, which is so synchronistic because I've been getting a lot of themes around this. You just have to sit with it, feel it. And it's precisely that feeling that's going to boost and empower you, because that's one way of connecting to the unknown, is through those feelings. And this is also another way to start receiving those messages, especially if you've been having difficulty understanding or receiving the psychic or intuitive guidance that is coming your way. We try to control things in our lives as humans, which is probably natural because we see if we can take some semblance of power over it, that things will be okay. And what we've realized, so many of us, is that it doesn't work that way. The more we control, it seems like the more things fall apart. And this lunation is teaching us elements and showing us in areas of our lives where we may feel the greatest loss of control is perhaps where we may need to lean into the most, with trust, with hope, and with that connection that's fueled by this lunation, because it's offering us a different way of feeling secure and stable. Message number 2, I got break your heart. This connects to the first message in terms of the underlying emotions and feelings that come out. But interesting, because Pisces, ruled by Jupiter, generally it rules over the feet, the liver, the outer thighs, sperm, semen, womb, not the heart. And here I got a lot of heart chakra expansion and release with this lunation. And it has to do with a lot of energy that some folks are holding on to that they haven't processed for so many reasons. And themes that kept coming up here were those around love, illusion, grief, loss, ancestors, and something transcending this realm, this material or earthly realm, something higher, like spiritual. So this is again about leaning into what you don't fully see, understand, or know. That's the area of darkness here, especially preceding the new moon. It's dark. That's why we don't see the moon in the sky, because we're receiving guidance intuitively and psychically. Some of you, I channeled this as well, some of you have held it together for so long. So there's a need for you to crack open your heart, because when you are trying to engage with those sensitive emotions and the watery elements of Pisces, if your heart's closed, it's going to be very difficult to receive these messages. And for those of you that know about the energy systems of the body and the chakras, they all work in tandem together. So if one is blocked, like the heart, which is the gateway to the higher chakras, and there's a lot more, it's going to be difficult to receive messages. So there's something here for those of you maybe that have felt frozen with your emotions, that have kept your emotions guarded. It could be dealing with emotional dysregulation, emotional detachment, being avoidant, not wanting to even go down that realm. This lunation is going to be the opportunity for you to work on your heart and open that and be more open to what you're receiving. More importantly, how you're feeling, because it starts with you. Message number 3, I got pulled the plug. Immediately I saw a bathtub and a sink that were filled with water, but they were stagnant, they were cold, they were sitting. In other words, someone may have left the bath or just filled it up and they didn't return, or whatever the reason was. So there's something here that I kept getting about not over-identifying or marinating yourself in emotions, in situations, and events that have long since passed. Because this is where I got those two words, martyrdom, if I said that right, martyrdom, being a martyr, and self-sacrifice, which is related to the significations of Mars. Those two words kept blinking and coming up. Stop replaying what's happened in your mind over and over with a relationship, with an event, with a situation, whatever it is. There's something here where I feel like some folks are hurting themselves. It's like you are playing this event over and over in your life, and it's causing a lot of emotions not to clear out. You're just sitting in them. And so there's something here about moving on from that because you're not understanding or seeing that. So it's time to pull the plug and allow the waters to drain. This could mean exploring what it is you're feeling precisely, which again connects to message number 1, and not identifying with how other people feel or what the other situation entailed, or analyzing those particular themes, more so on yourself. What are you feeling? What is coming up? What are you afraid to look at? What is that darkness within you telling you? What is there still left? Because with Pisces, there's that also that idealized version that we may almost sometimes participate in of something or someone. Whatever the situation is, it's going to vary for everyone. And we may unexpectedly believe that the expectations we set forth or what it is that we wanted to occur was the truth or was supposed to happen, and it didn't. So there's something here with this message about letting go, that it's time for renewal, cleansing, washing away, purging of emotions, a final acceptance and ending a draining. It's almost like telling yourself, you know what? And for many of you, I felt this situation, event happened in the past. It's not something that happened recently. So for some of you, there's simply first a level of acceptance that has to be brought into your awareness, saying, you know what, this happened. Second, do I want to exist in this spiral of self-sacrifice, of martyrdom, of giving away my power to these emotions, to this event, to this situation? Because your energy, your life force energy is draining down this tub. And that stagnant water that I felt and saw, those are your emotions that have remained frozen in time. It's very difficult, especially if some of you are seeking new opportunities in life. You're seeking to attract and bring different forms of love into your life, whether it's a new job, wealth, relationships. When we are stagnant or frozen from something in the past, it's like, think about when you pause a movie. You're not going to see any more of the movie until you unpause it. Same thing with your heart. Some of you have to unblock and say, you know what, I'm ready to move on and confront these feelings. I also want to say for any of you that are feeling especially tired, this lunation is really bringing up the theme of rest, not just physical rest. Resting in other ways, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, because that's where these messages are coming to you, especially through dream states. Some of you are going to receive it through automatic writing, clairvoyancy, scrying, water or fire, etc. Let's get into the channeled songs. I got 2 channeled songs. The first one was Doris Day, Whatever Will Be, Will Be. Que Sera, Sera, 1956. And I'll link the songs below. I highly recommend you listen to them. Again, I don't receive compensation or anything. I will always be transparent if I do. I'm just linking them for reference. They present the duality of this Piscean nature and of this lunation. You will feel it, you will hear it. In this song, Doris Day first sung this for Alfred Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much. And interesting, she's an Aries sun, but she has her Uranus and Mercury in Pisces. I just felt like this rendition of this song was so fitting from her. It expressed this archetype well, and I just felt it. The song lyrics I kept hearing was Que Sera, Sera, whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. Que Sera, Sera, what will be, will be. And it really is an ode to, again, surrendering, not controlling things, having faith and hope in things working out for you in the future. Because you have that element with Uranus, which is very forward, futuristic, and things that are different from what you know or feel comfortable around. The second song was Toni Braxton's Unbreak My Heart from 1996. And this was the opposite end of this dual Piscean lunation. I will say the song's about, you can feel it, you can see the video, you will completely feel that energy completely go to the opposite side. It's about heartbreak, loss, pain. She, in the video, is wanting her lover to return back to her and also not feel these feelings again, basically almost erase the feelings of heartbreak. And this, I feel, it can pertain not just to romantic love, but to any area of your life where you felt that heartbreak, you felt that closure coming. There's a loss here, something that you wanted to work out and it didn't. And there's something here that you're being asked to trust in something higher and bigger than you, because in that moment of life where this happened, or even if it's now, it may feel like that's it, it's done. I'm never going to see the happiness that I get in XYZ area of my life. But like I mentioned earlier about the gears, it's all connected to something bigger. And when you are processing that, it's important not to say, oh, what's the spiritual meaning of this? Only after some time has passed can you start to unpack that in a different way. Some of the lyrics here that I kept hearing: don't leave me all in pain. I think this was the first chorus too. Don't leave me out in pain. Excuse me, not the chorus, the first set of lyrics. Don't leave me out. Don't leave me in all this pain. Don't leave me out in the rain. Come back and bring back my smile. Come and take these tears away. I need your arms to hold me now. The nights are so unkind. Bring back those nights when I held you beside me. Unbreak my heart. Say you'll love me again. Undo this hurt you caused when you walked out the door and walked out of my life. Uncry these tears. I cried so many nights. Unbreak my heart, my heart. And I'm like, shit, a lot of these songs, or these two songs, really underlie some of the messages that I channeled. So I highly recommend listening to both of these songs, because again, they present the dual nature of this lunation and what may be coming up for you. And you may also get different messages around this, and it could help reconcile for you any feelings, any points of contention that are coming up, or anything that you may be feeling fears about, anxieties, insecurities. Both are on completely different octaves, but you will hear and feel the energies of the music very differently. You all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love and so appreciate to hear your feedback on whether you like this updated format for this lunation, what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Overall, this theme is about receiving, leaning into the darkness, which represents the unknown, the unseen, the occult. It could represent so many fears that we have, because we as humans want to control things in our lives, because that's the way we feel that we will remain safe. But with Uranus and Taurus bulldozing through the Taurus energies of our natal charts, it is showing us new ways to find safety and security. Things that are popping off left and right, maybe throughout this last several years that Uranus has been here. It's also showing us, wait a minute, you're growing in new ways. Yeah, some of these things are very uncomfortable. You didn't plan for them, but they're also allowing you to move forward in a new way, shift your values, do things in a different way. And that's really what underlies this. In addition, we're all being asked to up-level and upgrade our spiritual practices and realize, especially as exemplified by Uranus in Taurus, there's a lot of things you won't see coming. You won't ever have it in your planner or your calendar. You will not get a beep or an alert or a text message or an SOS warning you, Uranus and Taurus is coming. You better be careful because this change is coming. That's why our spiritual practices are integral as humans. It's important to find that type of balance, whatever that looks like and means for you in your life here as a human and as a soul, and as you have both feet in both worlds, and to start nurturing that, because the true form of security and stability, it's not here in the material world, because eventually we leave this world. So we leave everything that we claim as ours. It'll be gone. It won't be with us. The only thing we take with us and continue forward taking with us is our spiritual connection to the divine, the love we have, and memories. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Take a look at any of these other lunation videos. These lunation cycles connect to one another. I hope this offers you guidance, growth, support, confirmation, and validation. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. I'll see you soon. Take care.